Hey guys, welcome back to the Real Estate Sales Summit. It is going to be a fun morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're watching this at this point in time. Special guest that I got to know over the past month or so. Chris Jones is with us this morning from Fayetteville, North Carolina, after just getting back from vacation. So thank you, Chris. Welcome to the Real Estate Sales Summit.
Yeah, absolutely. I need like a triple shot of espresso right now. But
No doubt. Hey, I've got your coffee right there. So Chris is the co-founder, correct, of Guerrilla Realty, Pipeline Pro Tools, a ton of tools that are phenomenal for real estate agents out there to grow and develop their business. And we are happy to have him here to talk about those, as well as just give you guys some serious tips on how to build your business specifically. So Chris is going to do that for a little while. So welcome,
cool.
and thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited about this, actually.
Good.
Can't wait to start promoing this stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So give everybody sort of just a general background of you, where you come from, how you got into real estate, and how you really got into this tech development process with it.
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, my name is Chris Jones. I'm the founder of Guerrilla Realty, and we do tools and training to help agents rapidly grow their real estate business. And one of the ways that we do that is we have a flagship product we call Pipeline Pro Tools. It's a lead capture software. But the main way that we do that is we publish free training, so free marketing playbooks that help you capture more leads. And then we also create free tools, things like Listing Cake, things you might have heard of, Pipeline Database, things that you can use. We don't ask you to upgrade. You just get to use them for free forever. And we try to put out about one a quarter. So we're building 3 or 4 free tools per year, and it's going really well. So how do we get into real estate? So I got into real estate through my dad, and it's kind of a family business. He got in back in 2004, 2005, which anybody watching remembers. Those are the good times. That was when you could qualify for like a $500,000 mortgage as long as you passed the checkbook and mirror test. So if you could fog a mirror, sign a check, you're qualified. You're ready to buy a $500,000 house. And things were pretty good for my dad. Actually, the funny thing is that he came in from a different business. Growing up, when I was growing up, he was always in the automotive repair business. And so when he came over to real estate, he tried to apply all the same principles and just like, I'm going to do everything that all the experts teach to do. And I'm going to grow an awesome real estate business. He had just come out of doing the automotive repair thing. It's one of those businesses that is emotionally draining. You can imagine, it's like when you do your job absolutely flawlessly, perfectly, your customers still hate you.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're pissed off that their car is broken. They have to pay you to fix it. Right.
Right.
So it's one of those jobs that after years and years and years of doing it, he was totally, totally emotionally drained. And so he said, I'm in for a change. And he had a friend that was in real estate and said, you know what, with your business background and your sales ability, natural salesperson, he said, you would be awesome at real estate. He said, come over. So he gets his license and he gets in. And if you've never met my dad, he's actually published a couple of real estate books. You can look him up. His name is Matt Jones. And when he gets in the business, he does everything to the nth degree. So it's just part of it. It's like a personality flaw, tick, whatever you want to call it. He's like OCD. And so he reads all the books and it's like how to do your sphere of influence. It's like, get 100 names and put it into your database and make sure that you're making weekly contact with these people. He's like, you know what? If they say do 100, I'm going to do 300. Right. And so he does it. And then they're like, send out postcards. And he's like, well, they say you should farm with postcards. They say you should do an area of 500 homes. He's like, I'm going to do 1,500 homes. Right. So he does all these different strategies, the old school techniques to get real estate business. He does them, but he does them to the nth degree. So 3 to 10 times what the experts teach. And he gets into the business and he thinks that he's just going to hit the ground running. And instead he fell flat on his face. Right. And what he found is he's just getting into real estate when things were changing. Right. So everything used to be a totally relational business where how you found your realtor, you asked your neighbor, hey, who did you guys use? Right. And now it's 2005, the internet, Zillow wasn't a thing yet, but realtor.com was. And There was a couple of other big lead vendors. And so he falls flat on his face and he can't figure out why. And he starts to think that he made a mistake. So he had some savings set aside to get him through the gap. But he's like on his way to make like $30,000 his first year as an agent. And he's thinking, nah, I'm used to making a lot more than that. I can't take a step back like that. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should get out of real estate. And before he did, he decided to take some time by himself, like spend some time. I'm sure he went down to the beach or whatever. We live close to some beautiful beaches, but he said, you know what, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to do some soul searching and figure out what I'm doing wrong. And he said, before I quit real estate, if I'm going to exit real estate, I'm going to go out with a bang and I'm going to do things on my own terms. And so he basically went back to his automotive repair and his technology background. And the way that every other industry on earth was capturing leads was online, right? Yep. It was just real estate that was playing catch up, right? So they're still doing old school stuff of like, sending out postcards and whatnot. Pretty much every other business on earth is moved to doing online advertising. So he started running some online, what we call marketing playbooks, and built a website that was just designed to capture leads. And he just designed it for himself. And overnight, his business exploded. So he went from having like literally 0 customers, not being able to connect with anybody, to having like 10 to 15 new leads in his inbox every single morning that he was capturing from his own website. Yep. And that was basically the germ of the idea for Guerrilla Realty. So that exploded his real estate business. He ended up, actually our team ended up listing over 100 properties in a single. He went from literally, making what the average agent makes somewhere between 30 and 40,000 out to, to doing, like 20 million in production and tons of listings and just had overnight success. And I over the years figured out that I liked building software a whole lot more than I liked doing real estate. And so we took that initial germ of an idea of like, this is what will make agents successful. Yep. We turned it into a company called Guerrilla Realty, and now that's what we do full time.
That's awesome. Awesome. So it's funny you say overnight success, and yeah, it was once he switched his gears, but overall it wasn't necessarily an overnight success, but he stuck with it.
Yeah. So it was years and years of experience and background. Yep. And everything. But what's cool is we teach this webinar called How to Double Your Business in a Week. And what's funny is he actually did double his business in a week. Right. Wow. So now, obviously, the commission checks are going to take 90, 100 days to come in and all that, because you got to work with the clients and whatever. But what's funny is once you fill up your pipeline with really qualified customers, your business has already doubled. Now, the lagging indicator is the money. You're going to have to wait for the money to come in, right? But you've effectively doubled. And so what's funny is it wasn't an overnight success, because it took years and years to get to the point where you had the experience and the background and all the knowledge and the know-how. But it did happen overnight. And what's cool is that, like, if you have the right marketing playbooks and the right tools, any agent can basically follow the same protocol and double your business essentially overnight. Yeah.
Well, and that's the key, is finding the right tools and the right processes to use. So since we're on that subject, so what do you, with all the agents that you talk with and see and do webinars and chat with, what do you think the biggest challenge that they're facing now? What is it?
There's so many ways we could go with this question. I believe in my heart that the biggest challenge for agents today in 2020, I almost said 2019, in 2020 is knowing what to focus on, right? So we live in an overstimulated society where like like every time you log on to Facebook, there's a new guru telling you, oh, this is how you grow your business. This is how you grow your business. This is it. And I find that it is incredibly difficult to figure out as an agent what is actually going to work, right? And what should I be focusing my time on? So we do something, I'm sure you're familiar with the 80-20 rule, or also known as Pareto's principle or Pareto's law. This is a principle that we run our company by. It's what we run all of our training by. And basically, if you're watching this, you're not familiar, it's basically the concept that 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your activities, or 80% of effects come from 20% of the causes. So for example, everyone's familiar with the statistic that 20% of real estate agents produce over 80% of real estate volume, transaction, what have you, right?
Yep.
But what it also means is on a micro level, because how does that really affect us? It doesn't, right? We all want to be on the 20%, but how does it affect us on a micro level? What it means is that only 20% of your activities that you're going to complete, and this applies to me too, Rob, 20% of the activities that you do this week are going to actually have an impact to grow your business this week,
Absolutely.
right? Which means that 80% of the stuff that you and I do this week is going to be wasted. And so I think helping agents figure out what is the 20%. So we always do like a big pie chart, and then like the blue slice is the 20%. That's really effective. And then the big 80% red slice is all wasted energy, right? Yeah. And so helping agents figure out what is the 20% that you should really be focusing on. If you could double that, right? So do twice as much of that and eliminate all the other crap, you've essentially cut your workload in half and doubled your business, right? And we try to do this once a quarter. We do this, what we call 80-20 analysis or Pareto analysis, and figure out what have we done over the last 90 days that's really effective, that's actually moved the needle, and how do we double that and eliminate all the other stuff. So I think biggest challenge is what to focus on, what's actually going to work in 2020, where we're all overstimulated and over messaged, over marketed, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah, because everybody gets a phone call every day. They see all the stuff on Facebook and everywhere else, and you're right. I mean, I don't know how many gurus there are that are out there. They're all over the place. All right, so let's get into that. So 20%, what would be in that 20% for an agent to really explode their business? I mean, if they wanted to have overnight success like you guys did, they concentrate on
that's a good question. So I would say, after training literally hundreds and hundreds of brokers and teams and agents, that whenever we apply this 80-20 analysis, this Pareto analysis, we find that there's really two activities that make up most agents' 20%, the stuff that's really effective is going to move forward. And I'm going to keep it kind of general, because each agent is going to apply differently, specifically or whatever. But what it comes down to is the 80% is stuff like tweaking your website, creating a new, getting new headshots, tweaking your business card, all the crap that makes you feel busy, but doesn't actually move the needle forward or move the needle at all. And then the 20% really comes down to just two activities, like I said. So two activities are, and I'm going to keep it general for now, but we can get into specific nuts and bolts later, is adding leads to your pipeline is number one. And I mean qualified leads. So for me, a lead is at least a phone number of somebody that you know is buying or selling in the next 105 days statistically. And we can get into the statistics later. But so number one is adding leads to your pipeline. Okay. Number two, and this always surprises people, but number two is following up with them by phone. Right.
So getting on the phone and making a phone call.
Every time that we do this 80-20 analysis, which is where we take everything that a person is doing in their business and we figure out what in the last 90 days has actually moved the needle or helped them make more money as a real estate agent, grow their business. The two activities that seem to actually matter, produce over 80% of the results, are adding leads to your pipeline, which means at least a phone number. I don't deal with like email addresses or Facebook Messenger or any of that stuff. So adding a phone number of somebody you know is buying or selling in the next 105 days, and then following up with them by phone. Those are the two activities that seem to really matter. And that's what agents should probably be focusing on. 99% of all businesses that we've done this analysis on.
Yeah. Well, and you would think that would make logical sense. And so what you're talking about is generating leads and then converting leads and making that happen, which they get distracted by the squirrel or the shiny object that comes along, and they don't.
Well, we all do. Yeah. Because, the same thing is it's actually the same thing for Guerrilla Realty, our software company. It's the same thing if you own a dry cleaning shop or a bakery, or like when you really, and obviously specifics matter. So how do you get leads in your pipeline, right? How do you add leads to your pipeline, and how do you follow up by phone? That matters. But if you just boil it down to those two activities, you're way ahead of all of your competition.
Yeah. And because so much of it they can do, you can get all of that other stuff outsourced or go to Fiverr or VA or something like that and get that junk done, including contract close. All right. So let's get into the lead part of it then. What do you think? What would be the top 2 or 3 ways for them to generate qualified leads?
Yeah. So I actually don't have to like boil it down because we still run a local real estate operation. We generate our own qualified leads and we test all the stuff on the ground every single day. And we only run, now we've developed over the years 10, 12 marketing playbooks that really work. And marketing playbooks is just something that when you implement it, you know that you're going to get a specific result. So you're going to get leads from it every single time. And then you can just rinse and repeat. So we like the terminology playbook, because it's like, in football, right? So you have a play, your team knows it inside and out. And when you execute, you call the play, and I don't know what it is, Omaha, whatever, and you execute on that play, your team's going to do it, and they're going to get a specific result, right? And you know that you're going to move the ball 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, whatever the case, as long as you execute flawlessly. Right. And so we've developed dozens over the years, but currently we only use 3 marketing playbooks in our local real estate operation, and it generates over 250 leads per month, right? And actually, we don't use any paid. Now, we've developed some really, really killer paid, like pay-per-click or paid traffic marketing playbooks. So Facebook, Facebook ads, Google AdWords, whatever. We find that the best qualified leads you don't have to pay for, right? So I'm just going to give you the quick rundown. We probably won't have time to go like deep into it, but we use Craigslist. So we have a very specific Craigslist marketing playbook. You find that there's actually a ton of real estate shoppers still on Craigslist, and some of them don't start on Craigslist, they start on Google, but Craigslist has amazing SEO, so they end up on Craigslist. And there's ways to convert those leads so you have a phone number of somebody that's buying in the next 90 days. So we have a Craigslist playbook. Then we use Facebook Marketplace, which is not to be confused with Facebook ads.
Yep.
Facebook ads, there's a very low conversion rate once you get the lead. We convert about 1 in 42 from paid Facebook ads. And the reason why is there's just no buyer intent. Like, nobody logs onto Facebook to buy real estate, right? Why do we all log onto Facebook? It's just to check up on our high school buddies, make sure we're still cuter and more successful today.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
And so we might get seduced by some sexy ad, right? And, I do want to see the 10 best off-market listings in my market. But most of us are not actually, it's like 1 in 42 conversion rate, which, there's a lot of work to get through 41 follow-ups just to get that one deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're not talking Facebook ads. We're talking Facebook Marketplace. So that's our second marketing playbook. And because that's when people go to Marketplace, because they're trying to buy something. So if they go to the real estate section, it's because they're trying to buy real estate, right?
That's right.
And it's free, right? And then the third one that we use, and this always throws people for a loop, is we have a playbook that gets free leads from Zillow. So we teach a really specific strategy. We use it ourselves, where we go in and we flip Zillow listings, right? Or if we have our own listings, at any given time, we might take the 10 to 20 listings that our team has, and we'll flip those listings as well. We'll claim them and flip those. But otherwise, there's a strategy you can use to flip other Zillow listings that you don't own, and use those to point back to your lead capture tools and generate leads. So those are the 3 marketing playbooks we use. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and Zillow generates over 200 leads per month for us.
Nice. And with no expense.
Yeah, well, the time expense. We always factor in. Yeah, we always factor in time, because that's a cost as well.
Right.
But yeah, we don't pay for any traffic.
Which is probably a big difference from what people are hearing, because they get inundated with ads on Facebook, which of course we know is changing drastically, and all the so many ad accounts are getting shut down, and that's changing. And then they also get the calls from Zillow to spend thousands of dollars every month. And so now you're using those exact same platforms, but completely free to generate traffic.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice. So what do you think about like the other social media aspects of it? Because you hear people talking about YouTube and Instagram and, Snapchat and God, I don't know how many thousands there are out there. Anything on those?
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that you can't build your business around YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. I've heard of people connecting with, I closed a deal, I connected with this client, we met on Snapchat, whatever. I would just say this. The reason why Facebook works is because it's all locally based. So it's all relationship based, like your friends of this friend or this friend, and it's all geographically based, right? And who do you follow locally? You follow local businesses, and like I said, it's geographically based. Yeah. It's with Instagram, it's all nationally driven, right? There's no like geographic component, not really. There is a small one, but it's really hard to use. It's kind of clunky. YouTube, of course, there is no geographical component at all, right? So you might get 10,000 followers on YouTube. You probably won't. Like newsflash, you're probably not going to get 10,000 followers unless you're like really sexy or something. You're probably not going to get 10,000 followers on YouTube. But when you do, like zero of them will live in your city. So what was the point, right? So again, there are probably really good marketing playbooks based around these platforms. I think they're really smart people that are really into it. But in general, Snapchat, Instagram, and YouTube and those, you might have to work a really long time to get to where it's producing leads for you on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I could be speaking out of ignorance where like I just haven't seen the genius marketing playbook that will generate leads every single time you use it. But I find that a lot of these ones are like it takes like, okay, the strategy is I want you to post one video on YouTube per week for the next 3 years. And then the SEO will take over where people who are searching for info in your area will finally start to find your videos. And now, well, I don't have 3 years, right? So anyway, whatever works, like whatever moves the needle. So do the 80-20 analysis. And if you say, look, I did the 80-20 analysis and over the last 90 days, like 4 out of my 5 qualified leads came from Instagram. Well, you just answering your own question. Go hard into Instagram. Figure out what did you do to get those 4 contacts on Instagram and start doubling that. So if you were spending an hour a day just connecting with people, answering questions or whatever on Instagram, and that got you 4 clients, do it for 2 hours a day, right? You just answer your own question. Most agents listening to this right now did not get 4 customers last month from Instagram though.
No.
Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
No. Even though they posted all of their new listings and their coming soons and their open houses, they probably still didn't get
right. And so here's the flip side that I don't want to step on people's toes, but here's the flip side of the 80-20 analysis. If you find that 4 out of your 4 customers that you connected with last month, they came from walking up to and talking to people in Lowe's. Right. That's what you should be doing. But what that means is you should stop the 80% that didn't move the needle. So stop posting your crap on Instagram. Stop posting your crap on Snapchat. Stop doing all of that stuff because it didn't like do the 80-20 analysis. Like I'm not saying I don't like social media, so don't do it. If social media is working for you, then double it, right? And eliminate everything else. But for most agents, what they'll find is that it was something simple, something totally unsexy. And that if they stopped with the social media and doubled the thing that was working, they would grow their business a lot faster.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about doing things that are hyper local too, to generate traffic, because you're looking at Craigslist on a local basis. You're looking at Facebook Marketplace on a local basis, and you're looking at Zillow on a local basis for flipping those listings. And that's doing something that the big tech companies nationally, the Zillows, Trulias, Realtor.coms, can't do and won't do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing. Let's use Facebook as an example, the marketplace, because everybody always posts on Facebook, and you see their listings posted, you see their open houses posted, and you see all of those different things on their personal Facebook pages. What are you putting on Facebook Marketplace? And by the way, we're putting links to all the marketing playbooks down here under this video. So you guys
absolutely. So I'm going to give you like the 2-minute version of our Facebook Facebook Marketplace playbook, right? So I'm going to start with step number 1. Will not apply to all agents, but some of us on here don't have any listings, or we sold through our inventory, right? And so what in the heck do we have to market to attract leads if we don't have any listings, right? How do we get listings if we don't have leads, right? It's like the chicken or the egg. So one of the easiest shortcuts past this obstacle is to go out and borrow listings. So step 1 for any of our playbooks is to go borrow a listing that you can use to market and get leads. And it's the simplest thing. For some agent, it explodes their brain, like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that, or I'm afraid to do that. I get a lot of, hey, I'm afraid to go out and ask somebody, what if they tell me no? Well, first of all, who cares, right? But if they're a good listing agent, they won't say no, right? And the reason why is they have a fiduciary obligation to their seller to get as many eyeballs on this property as possible. And so if you're offering to advertise it for them and bring them more eyeballs, they shouldn't say no, right? And most of the time they won't. So we teach a really simple script. Go out. We talk on the phone first, and then we follow up with a text message, because in most states, it's required that you get written permission to advertise somebody else's listing. Very important CYA. Don't go out and start advertising someone else's listing thinking that it's okay. Check with the regulations in your local area. But anyway, so we'll go out, we'll use the script, we'll talk on the phone. I'll get permission to advertise the listing. I'll send the follow-up text to get the written permission. And then now I have a listing it might as well be my own listing, right? Because now I have blanket permission to go advertise this in whatever way is gonna bring more eyeballs to the listing, and it's gonna get me more leads.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so I will go to Facebook Marketplace. I will write a very specific ad. We have a really specific ad format that you can follow. If you use Pipeline Pro Tools, we actually have a tool called the Ad Wizard, where you literally just drop in a listing. You can even just drop in a Zillow link, and it will build the ad for you. It will write all the ad copy for you. It uses the thousands and thousands of tests that we've run over the last 10 years to get the highest conversion rate possible, to make sure that everyone's clicking through and using your lead capture tools to get more info on the property. But it'll build the ad for you. Otherwise, you can spend 30 minutes and follow our ad writing format that we publish for free. Write an ad, post it on Facebook Marketplace, and then this is where most people stop. Okay? About half the ads that you post will be amazing. They'll generate new leads for you within an hour. Okay? About half the ads will be crap, and it's impossible to know which is which before you post it, right? So this is the real key. Once you post the ad, stick with it, right? So rinse and repeat with another listing, and then when Facebook Marketplace gives you the opportunity to renew it in a week or what, they're always changing because they're really like testing out the Marketplace platform. But whenever they give you a chance to renew it, go in and renew it, right? So stick with it. So don't just like do this once and be like, oh, I didn't get any leads. What's wrong, right?
Yep.
Do it with another listing and another listing and another listing. I normally recommend start with 5 listings. If you were to start with 5 bar listings today, post a Facebook Marketplace ad for each one of them, guarantee you'll have new leads in your inbox by tomorrow. And if you stick with it and build a system out of it, generally with 10, 11 properties, you can hit your lead number every month just from one platform, whether it's Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever. And we could talk a little bit about what a lead number is. I don't know if you want to get into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So, and actually, this is something that we put together for all the listeners, viewers, watchers of the Real Estate Sales Summit. And you can get it at guerrillarealty.com/Rob. It's not live as of the recording of this, but it'll be live when you guys, when we all go live.
Perfect.
So it's just guerrillarealty.com/Rob. It's a calculator that we use in our own business, especially at the beginning of the year. So it's January 2020. Everyone's got big goals, but they don't know how to get there, right? So everyone knows how to write down their goals. Very few people know how to reverse engineer and figure out what are the components that's going to go into making that goal a reality. And so we have what we call a reverse engineer calculator, which if you go to guerrillarealty.com/Rob, you can use my actual calculator. But what it does is it figures out what you want to make this year, what your target monthly income is. And we could share some ways to figure what that needs to be, but starts at the end product. And then we work backwards, which is what reverse engineering is. You start with the end product and figure out how was it made. And so we start with the end product. So let's say you had, Rob, maybe you wanted to make $20,000 target monthly income, $20,000 a month this year. And then we would figure out what are the specifics in your market. So average sale price, average commission side, your effective company split, how many weeks of vacation you want to take, whether you want to work with predominantly buyers, predominantly sellers, what percentage breakdown, et cetera, et cetera. You put on all of these details and it'll start crunching the numbers for you. And it'll figure out what we call a lead number, because ultimately, remember, there's just 2 activities you're going to do this week that are really going to move the needle in your business is adding new leads to your pipeline and then following up by phone. So how many leads do you have to put into your business on a monthly basis, into your pipeline on a monthly basis, in order to pop out $20,000 a month commissions?
Right.
And so most agents, when they boil it down to just depending on what your income goal is, what market you're in, and a bunch of other things, but generally your lead number will be somewhere between 60 and 120. But it's really important that you know what it is, right? Like if your lead number was actually 120, but you're focusing on generating 50 leads per month, you're going to hit your goal every single month, your lead goal every single month, and you're still going to be falling half short of your goal by the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so so you got to figure out what your lead number is, whether it's 50 or it's 120. And so when I referenced lead number a minute ago, that's whatever your monthly target is and the number of leads that you need to add to your pipeline in order to generate the kind of income that you want to generate in real estate. And so we would figure out, like, let's say that you and I were doing this, Rob, we would figure out what your lead number was. And let's say it was, what market are you in?
Sarasota, Florida.
Okay. So you're up there. I'm going to assume that your lead number is like, like 67. Okay. You live in a really good real estate market. Each lead is worth a lot of money. And so maybe 67 leads per month. And so what we would do is we'd figure out after 2 weeks, we would figure out whether we were on track to hit 67 for the month. So that we like, have we hit 33 or 34 leads in these 2 weeks? And if we haven't, then what we'd want to do is we'd want to start supplementing with another marketing playbook, say Craigslist or Zillow or what have you. And our team, if you're using Pipeline Pro Tools, for example, our team will actually come alongside you and say, hey, look, you're not on target for it, because we track all this. This is how we measure our success. Our number one core value as a company is we're just here to help agents win. And we know the way to do that is to help them hit their lead number every month and make sure that they're converting those leads into deals. And so we would come along and say, hey, Rob, you're only at 34, you're not at 34 leads for these last 2 weeks, which means you're not on track for your lead number this month. I think that we need to supplement with another marketing playbook. And so here's what we're going to we're going to come along. We're going to implement this in addition to the other one, and we're going to get you to your lead number this month. Does that make sense?
Oh, God, yeah. Because most of the time, you see agents, they'll say, okay, I want to make $20,000 a month, or I want to make $100,000 a year, but they'll take it down to, okay, that means I need to close X amount of homes, but they don't take it down to how many leads do I need to generate to get
because the homes aren't going to sell themselves.
Exactly. They're not.
Right. You didn't dig deep enough. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So they're not looking at that piece, but that makes it so that they know specifically, and you're providing an accountability piece of it as well to make sure and to keep them on track, which obviously is extremely valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So when you're driving them, once they're in Facebook Marketplace, are you driving them back to a specific website? Lead generation website?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So with Pipeline Pro Tools, we focus on 3 different forms of lead capture. And if you have one form of lead capture versus 3, you're going to capture about half the number. So we find that you double your leads if you have 3 different ways that people can get more information on a listing, right? So the 3 that we find are most important are having a great lead capture website. So it's 2020. All of us have websites. Not all of them capture leads.
Yeah.
So our lead capture website is designed from the ground up. It still looks great, still does all the things that a real estate website is supposed to do. But the number one goal is to make sure that that person doesn't leave the site without us getting their phone number, email address, and name. Okay. Right. So that's a lead website. That's the number one way. It's about 50% of all of our leads are generated from the website.
Okay.
So the way that we double it is we also add a text autoresponder. So this would be like where somebody can text a unique property code to get more information. It'll automatically text them back and we'll capture their phone number. What's cool is you never get bogus phone numbers, right? So nobody can leave Donald Duck 555 or whatever because they're texting you from a real mobile device. So you get a real phone number every single time. And this is about 40% of our leads. And then only 10% of our leads come from a call capture hotline. So if you've been in real estate long enough, you remember the early 2000s, you remember Procrest, great company. Gary Elwood, great guy, super smart man. Anyway, we still use a technology. We've basically developed one that's very similar. Like, I'm not afraid to say that we're just a copycat. But it was really important for us to continue using this because what we find is that it's only 10% of our total lead volume, which it may seem like, oh, that doesn't pass Pareto's principle. But what you'll find is that those 10% of leads are typically baby boomers, right? So it gears toward an older clientele, right? People who are just more comfortable picking up the phone versus, using their thumbs to text you.
Right.
And the thing about baby boomers is they've actually got money in the bank, right? So imagine wanting to buy real estate and you actually have money in the bank. It's a wild thought, right? And so we find that those leads convert at a higher rate and they also buy at the higher end.
Higher price.
So when you apply Pareto's principle, maybe it doesn't comprise a huge percentage of your leads, but as a percentage of your revenue, it will actually produce very well for you. Right. Nice. So we still use that tool, even though text is more popular, websites more popular, sure. But you find it's like as an overall percentage, like it's only 10% of our leads, but it's something like 26% of our revenue as a company or something like that. So.
Yeah, which is nice because you've got an aging population in that aspect. So, and you're right, they do have money, which is a whole lot different than the fogging the mirror prospect back in 2004, 2005.
Right.
And they are going to buy a higher priced house on average. So,
Yeah.
and probably have multiple opportunities with that too, because they may even be going the opposite direction, downsizing. They have to sell
Yeah.
one,
Or buying rental properties or
rental properties, all of those things. So you're giving them the multiple options to hit them and wherever they happen to be in whatever age range, whatever they're most comfortable with, you're giving them all of the options.
Yep. So you have those three versus just one, you're going to double the number of leads you can generate from one ad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, all that comes, and it's all combined in Pipeline Pros too.
Yeah. Pipeline Pro Tools will include all three different lead capture devices.
Nice. Nice. So Chris, we've got three things, and what we're going to do too is on the advanced session for you guys, we're going to really dive into one of those and get Chris to, I'm going to bribe him somehow to really go in depth into one of these things. And it may be not the one that you're thinking too, because you caught my eye with one of them. And I've heard you talk about it a little bit before, but I think we're going to go into the Craigslist piece of that because no one's on there anymore too.
That's true. Yeah.
So what else?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah. What do you want to leave them with? What's the last piece of advice? You've talked about the Pareto principle, 80-20, the three different options, then three ways to capture, some great stuff. Anything you want to leave them with this section that they've got to know for them to compete, build their business, and really thrive?
Yeah, I could try to throw out some new pearls of wisdom at this point, but I think that what we've already talked about is really important. So figure out what you should be focusing on, right? Don't try to focus on everything. Everything will always keep you basically broke and unsuccessful. Figure out what you should be focusing on, like do the 80-20 analysis. And if you don't know how to do that, email us. I'm sure that my contact information will be somewhere on this live. Email us and we'll help you do the 80-20 analysis. We do an awesome webinar on how to figure out what's actually working in your business. Do what we call a 90-day review, where we figure out where did the stuff that worked over the last 90 days, what was it? And then it's really important that you be brutally honest with yourself. So here's what happens a lot of times when people do the 90-day review, right? Like, what worked over the last 90 days, right? And what they find is that the Facebook ads that were so sexy and made them feel so clever that they figured it all out, what they find is that they didn't do a single deal or have a single qualified lead from that, but it did seem sexy, right? Eliminate it, right? And what they find is that, like, sometimes it's something as simple as like, well, I did take 2 listings from cold calling FSBOs, right? And there's nothing sexy about cold calling FSBOs. It sucks, but we do teach a really cool script and playbook around FSBOs that makes it a lot more pleasant, because it can be unpleasant to cold call. But anyway, you might find that what's really working for you is something that's not sexy. And so you have to be brutally honest with yourself and say, look, this is what's working. This is what I'm going to do. And that's what it's going to take to double my business, right? So we all love the idea of like creating Facebook ads that run automatically and like just dump money into our pocket, right?
Yep.
99% of the time, life is not that sexy. And so figure out what is the hard thing that you're doing. It's probably hard. I'm just taking a wild guess, right? What's the hard thing that you're doing that's really working and moving the needle? And just do that. So figure out what to focus on. Use a 90-day review or the 80-20 analysis to figure out what's really moving the needle for you. And just do that, and like ignore all the other stuff, the stuff that people tell you. Stop blogging. Your blogging probably isn't doing anything for you, right? And so but it takes energy, right? And we all have a finite amount of energy, right? So what if you had taken that energy you put into blogging and you did more of the FSBO calling, right? What would have happened? Well, you'd be richer today, right? So figure out what it is, figure out what to focus on, and just do more of that and do less of everything else. And I think that you'll be on the right path.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you very much for doing this and sharing the knowledge.
Yeah, thank you.
It's outstanding. So how does somebody get in touch with you?
Chris at GuerrillaRealty.com. Go to GuerrillaRealty.com. You can check out all of our free stuff, all of our free tools that we're putting out on a regular basis. And that's it.
Cool. Chris Jones, thank you. You rock.
Thank you.
All right, man.